I'm going to walk us through creating a first pulse or survey. And once I log into the system, you'll notice I'm on the Launchpad, which is the landing page. From here, I can create surveys or pulses for 3 different types of groups. I can create them for families, for students, for staff, and we pull all of that information out of the SIS so you don't have to add them manually. So if I go to the Pulses tab at the top, this is going to bring up a list of every single survey or pulse I have visibility of in my organization. So you'll notice I have quite a few. If I select New Pulse at the top left, the green button, you'll see I have 3 different options here. Keep in mind that the setup steps for each different group are exactly the same. So whether you're creating a student or a family or a staff survey, the setup steps will always be the same. So I'm going to choose students. And you'll notice that in the purple here it indicates I have 3 separate steps, and those correspond to the tabs below. So the first step is providing the basic information, the second step is adding your questions, and the third and final step is creating your schedule. So I'm just going to move through this form. The first thing I'm going to do is give this a title, so I might call this 2021 Student SEL Survey. And normally you're going to want to follow a naming convention that is quite expressive and easy to understand what this survey is for. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this button here under Who Do You Want to Ask to select my students. Now when you do this, these can be in combination. So I can do Kelvin Elementary School, 3rd grade, and what that will do is it's going to ask 3rd graders at that school. Now I want to do all of my students across all of the schools, so I'm going to remove all of the form fields here, and I'm just going to hit Save, and you'll notice it added all students. So I could easily remove that if that was a mistake or re-add it as well. This step is really, really important. So this is who should have access to the results. By default, we set up a few different groups for you that you can share to, but you can control it as well. So if I just want this to go to district administrators, I'm going to remove those 2, and you'll notice there's a little 5 here in the parentheses. That's indicating there's 5 district administrators who will receive the results. If I want to add the school admins, I can, and even teachers as well. You can also create a custom group, so if you want to share this just with a particular group of users like counselors or SEL coordinators, you can create a group like that as well. And keep in mind that even if you share this group to school admins, and let's say there's 50 school admins, the results each school admin sees will be based on their visibility and the sites they're affiliated to. So if I am a school admin at Cram Elementary, when I log in, I'm only going to see the results that pertain to me for Cram Elementary. Below that, you can either turn on or off comments. You can also allow students to request to speak to a counselor. That's that special prompt that says, would you like to speak to an adult? And students can sort of digitally raise their hand. I'm going to turn that on. And then as well as a special prompt, which is, what's one thing you wish your teacher knew? I'm going to leave them all selected, but you don't have to by any means. I'm going to hit next. It's going to drop me to the next tab, which is step 2 of 3, and I'm going to add my questions. So there's 2 ways to add questions, and there's a whole video based on that if you want to get really into it. But you can either add a custom question, so how are you feeling? Choose the type. I'm going to leave it at Likert scale. Not so good. Great. I'm going to change the emojis here and make that one favorable. And I'm going to add a dimension. You're going to want to make sure you add dimensions. How are students day-to-day feelings changing? The reason I'm adding this dimension is it sort of rolls up my questions almost like a standard to allow me to do reporting at a kind of question group level. Now for the next question, I'm just going to add one from our bank. Let's try and find one in my demo account. There's one there. I'm going to add it. So I have 2 questions, and I'm going to hit next. So now I've added my basic info. I've added some questions, and the last and final step is to create my schedule. So let's say I want this to go out starting on Monday, November 2nd. You'll notice it defaults to leaving it open for a week. We recommend a week because that gives students multiple opportunities to respond. So if they're absent on Monday or busy on Tuesday, they can provide their response on Wednesday. And then let's say I want this to repeat automatically without any intervention from me every 6 weeks until the end of this school year out in June. Hit save, and very similar to like a calendar invite, it's just going to create those windows. So you'll notice it's going to send out 6 different administrations of this particular pulse, those questions I asked there, automatically without any intervention from me. I will receive as a system administrator an email reminder that tells me, hey, a pulse is going out, and I could always come back here and I could change the dates. I could schedule another pulse by adding a window. There's lots of different options here for you. but I'm just going to hit finish. And you'll notice everything's ready to go. So it's telling me we're going to ask students 2 questions starting November 2nd to the 8th. I could change the questions if I want. I could also go back to the settings and change different things. But a couple things you'll want to check is you'll want to check that you do have students or some sort of respondent checked. You know, whether that's all or just a few, you'll want to make sure somebody's receiving the survey. You'll want to make sure that the results are being shared to the appropriate people, not too many people or not too few people. You'll want to, of course, make sure you have questions, and then you'll also want to make sure you have a schedule. So those are just a couple things I'd recommend spot checking before. And now you'll see on the Pulses tab, it should show up there, right there. It says it's beginning on Monday 2nd. And you'll notice I have a couple drafts. I'm going to remove that one. But those are ones that I didn't actually publish, so I never hit that finish button. And that's how you create a survey, whether that's for families, students, or staff. Remember, for students, we're going to send the survey by the Chrome extension or the pop-up. For staff, we're going to send that by Chrome extension or email. And for your families, we can do either email or SMS text message.